guys, welcome. Aris here at Avalon, the intermediate class, for helping me out. We talked a lot about fundamentals, and I kind of led off the class by saying, I don't care if you come here every week, every day, once a month. I really just want you guys to have an easier time dancing with each other. I want it to make more sense. I want it to feel better. So first thing we talked about was kind of our own movement in the dance. We had everyone look sideways in the mirror, and just for our frame, making sure that I can check and see that my shoulder is not rolled forward. So I want a straight line across my collarbones. Frame's going to be very individual for everyone. This will give me some upper back activation. If I keep this the entire time, that means it'll be easier for me to connect with my partner. The second part of that was pitch. A whole bunch of ways to think about this too, but I really like thinking about the point of my hip bone being directly underneath my shoulder. So I'm very slightly taking this back. And again, if you look at yourself alone in the mirror, it might look a little funky, but as soon as you start dancing with someone, you'll see that this kind of makes sense, it looks fine, and people who are really good all have some degree of this in their dance, right? Now the drill was, just to start off by ourselves, we can do walks and triples going backward and forward, maintaining this angle. This is very key. If I'm leaning back on my heels, I can really only go backward, right? It's going to be very hard to switch directions. Both leaders and followers need to be able to move back and forward pretty smoothly. That's where this comes in. So next up, we started talking about connection. We grabbed a two-hand hold, we stood kind of not too uncomfortably close, and found our frame, found our pitch, and wiggled on back. Tiny steps, shuffle steps. Our elbow right in front of our body, this is where we kind of build the feeling of tension. From here, I'm going to move my weight back with my pitch from like the middle of my foot, where we have no tension on our handhold, to maybe the front part of my heel. Now we have tension here, I can use this to lead. The first thing we talked about here was followers being patient or hesitant, and if I'm following and Abra's leading, if she takes a step back and I jump the gun, right, this is not, we've lost connection all of a sudden. So the goal was, with the follower's eyes closed, right, the leader's going to take tiny, short, slow steps back, and I'm just being really, wow, you're really giving me a hard time. Being very hesitant, I'm not losing this connection, I'm not stepping forward so that this goes away, right? Next up, we talked about hands, wrists, and elbows, right? Without losing our frame or pitch, we want to think for both of us, like a 1-pound weight hanging from the elbow. This means that we don't have a super wide disconnected frame, but it's also not squished in here. Everyone's frame width is going to be different. It's hanging beneath our shoulder with this kind of weight on the elbow. I can also think point of my elbow pointing at the floor the whole time. I can also think elbow pit pointing at the ceiling the whole time. I just like the idea of that weight. Leaders, I had you guys take your hand, and we don't want this kind of like flexed lobster claw type deal going on. Instead of a flat line across the bottom, we want it more close to flat along the top. So I have this dropped wrist. I can pick up my follow's hand, and it's almost like I'm carrying a tray or a towel's draped over it. For follows, similarly, the wrist is slightly relaxed here. For follows, if the wrist is straight along the top, or worse, kind of like curled in like this is how we get follows pulling themselves forward, and we get very like weird arm-heavy connections, right? So leaders and followers both have their wrists relaxed, and we kind of found this position every time. Frame, pitch, find the place where we're stretching away from each other with the elbow, wrist relax, and then we move, right? With our natural hand hold, leaders left, follows right. This is where we start most of our patterns from. The exact same thing, and then we just kind of took a half step back, leaders right, follows left, and this is where we found our spacing, all right? So we did all of our patterns from here. The first drill was kind of follows filling space. So leaders, I'm not stepping forward after 4, she's moving back. And this is going to be different for all of our basic patterns. I stop on 4, she's going to keep moving back, so that at 6, we have this position of basic stretch, and we're ready to go again, all right? We had a great question about kind of like elbow angles and arm tone. Basically, once this is set, our connection's loaded, it's ready to go, I don't need to disconnect, disengage, or move anything. This is the end of 6, I can go right on 1, okay? In terms of arm tension, I'm just trying to keep this positioning. I don't want to get my arms straightened out or overextended. So depending on like how much energy we have in the connection, how heavy it is, I'm just trying to stop this here. And again, if I'm really having to fight this, maybe I just need to take another step toward my follower. So the second drill was, leaders should be able to do this too. So we had the followers stop on 4 and not move back at all, and literally just stop here and triple in place. And leaders had to find the spacing by 6, the same position of stretch we've been finding all class, and turn that into a lead again. So she's going to stop, who knows why. Maybe it's a styling moment. Maybe she heard something in the music, maybe she's going to run into someone, maybe it's a really fast song. By 6, I'm going to find this position. We found it together. This time it was mainly me doing it. and we use that to lead into the next pattern. I thought you guys did great. Thank you so much.